Welcome to Becoming More, where we learn from each other, right? And today I've got Izzy Hicks with me, an adaptive snowboarder who tied for the World Cup. That means you're first in the world, for heaven's sakes. Let's just call it what it is. So, we're going to go through some of the things that I know maybe you've been through in a different portion of your life. Yet, Izzy, first of all, an adaptive snowboarder. Tell us what that is.
So, an adaptive snowboarder is an athlete who has some kind of impairment that they fit into one of three categories. I fit into the women's upper limb category, and then there are two sections for lower limb disabilities, varying on how many joints are impacted.
So upper limb is what you're in. Okay. And you're going to be going to the Paralympics.
I hope so. My category has actually not been in the Paralympic Games yet because of numbers, but I hope with enough concerted effort between, me and the other upper limb athletes around the world that we can get it in for the next cycle after Cortina.
So you actually need to have more people, is what you're saying.
Yes, certainly.
I mean, can we write or do anything about that?
I think just trying to support as many upper limb impaired women as we can into, getting them into the field and snowboarding as much as they can. And I think that's one of the only things we can do.
Okay, so when did you fall in love with the sport?
I was 10 years old and I had a first time instructor session with a guy named Gilson Miller, and he gave me the confidence that I needed. He was telling me, he showed me what I needed to do, and then I was able to do it. And I just felt so inspired by his confidence in me and his supportive atmosphere that he created that I just felt like it was something I definitely wanted to do again. I just had an amazing experience with him.
So was he a coach or?
He was just an instructor for the National Ability Center, so he didn't do necessarily technical coaching, but he was definitely helping a lot of people get their legs under them and learn and progress.
Okay, so when you said that he encouraged you and built this atmosphere, was it through his words, his actions, both?
Both. His words were very impactful. I remember him saying to me that sooner or later I would be doing toe sides and heel sides in my sleep, and that's certainly true. I definitely have dreams about snowboarding now. And
Okay, I don't even know what you're talking about, to be real honest with you, yet a lot of our listeners, I'm sure. So inform me, what are those things?
that's just the maneuvers that you make to get on your turning edges to go, one direction or the other. Where, a
Okay.
skier will go straight and left and right. A toe side for me is my left turn, and a heel side's my right turn.
Oh, I see. Okay. And so you really have to lean into those.
Yes, it's a whole body movement, and I've certainly learned so much, and the fundamentals are a huge part of that. So,
Do you have to learn how to fall?
absolutely, yes. And you should always be wearing pads, spine protectors and hip and coccyx protectors.
Oh, wow. So, okay, you've fallen
Yes,
a few
certainly.
times.
Hmm.
Ever have a concussion?
More than I'd like to admit, but, I just keep going to different doctors.
Okay. What about broken ribs?
Yes, at my first season overseas in Europe, I was at an event without a coach. I was unrepresented for that race, and um, my last lap before my racing began, I went faster than I was expecting, and I tried to take some speed off, and I slammed my chest into a roller, and after a second of, trying to breathe, I got back up, kept going, and then I raced for, a few more days
Sure.
before I even realized anything was broken.
Oh my word. Just was it the adrenaline possibly? Yet you've been so open about sharing your insecurities and the fear. And I think a lot of our listeners out there, or the people watching this, they actually have fears. They have anxiety. They have stress. And so they have challenges. Yet how have you allowed those to shape you as an athlete?
I just try to view them as a hurdle to be overcame, essentially.
Yeah.
I really like to reframe what a challenge means to me because for some people they're stopping points, but for me it's an opportunity to kind of confront the difficulty and prove to myself that I'm capable of doing something very difficult.
Okay, give me an example of maybe something that you've had to work through like that.
Well, going to Europe alone was really difficult because I didn't speak the language. I didn't know where to go. I'd never really been on a course, a World Cup level course. And this course was in the city that the games are about to take place in. So I wasn't sure how I was going to stack up, but I just kept showing up and kept doing what I could. And that put me in a really good spot to make progress.
Okay, so I have a hard enough time. I've got to ask you this question. I mean, I've got two hands and I have a hard enough time carrying my suitcases or rolling my bag through, putting on my backpack, all of that. Yet you've got equipment and suitcases. You're traveling alone.
Yes, at least 3 bags that I'm lugging through the airports. A lot of kind strangers have helped me, but mostly I've just had to work out my own way to do it and just know that I've got to get to where I'm going.
Now, if you can't tell this, if you're watching this or if you're listening to this, I mean, you must weigh all of 100 pounds. I
Oh,
mean,
that's too
you're
sweet.
very teeny tiny. And I mean, snowboarding at an elite level requires not just physical skill, it's mental toughness. But I'm just going physically. How do you carry all that baggage and perform at such a high level?
Well, the baggage is kind of the least scary part sometimes, but I can be quite daunting. I think it's just a matter of, setting your mind to it and, not stop until you're where you need to go. Whether it's, in the airport or on the course, you just have to do what you can to get yourself from point A to point B.
That's fabulous. Well, I love doing a lot with mindset, as a lot of the people know. My book and everything is about mindset. And it's always intrigued me how athletes, that's the biggest part.
Hmm.
How do you fight that, especially after you have broken ribs, you've fallen, now you're back up on the course? I mean, do you get one run or do you do multiple runs?
You do get multiple runs typically. You'll get a few runs of practice, and then they'll have a time trial run or two possibly, and then they'll sort you into brackets. And that's when, stuff really starts to get serious.
Okay, now let's go back to mindset. You have a time run and you've fallen. You don't have a very good time. What do you do mentally to prepare yourself for that next run?
Something that's been really effective for me is affirmations. I have some that I just have locked and loaded for when I have a situation like that. If I'm standing up at the top of the course and nervous because I didn't have a great run prior, I'm just repeating in my head, I'm prepared. I can do this. I am strong. I One of my coaches once told me I was a lioness. So sometimes I say that I am a lioness. And so I just try to get into a more, a better stance to aggressively attack, whatever I'm doing.
Okay, now you're going down and you're doing a run. Is it easy to keep in that state? Or do you find yourself sometimes like, oh, don't fall? I mean,
It's not as easy as it is just riding down the hill on my own,
yeah.
I struggle to keep it all the way through the run sometimes, but I just have to guide my mind back to it. There's some certain pieces of a course that are scarier than others, and that I, put a little bit more extra attention into making sure I'm not going to fall. But I do really like to picture what can happen and what I should do versus what I shouldn't do.
Okay, let's go to that. So you're at the top and you're looking down. I mean, that's scary enough for me. And you've got this snowboard, you got your helmet, everything, you're preparing, you're giving yourself affirmations. And now it's time to take off. As you take that run and you're going down, are you thinking of the next jump or the next? I mean, tell me what's happening in your mind. It's so interesting.
I try to be very active in visualization and seeing myself doing it correctly. I really try to visualize that a few times before I get going. And then once I go, it's easier for me to recall the cues that I've come up with in my mind and then do them. But more when I'm racing, it's kind of a blank, let your body do what you know you can do and just try to remind yourself of the things that you're trying to work on. So,
Well, it's interesting because I work with people that desire to be public speakers. And it really is, even with them, they have to just go in with that blank slate in their mind. They've already got the talk, just speak from the heart, right? And let it go forward. Is that kind of the same way with you? You have to get in the state and then visualize what's going to happen at the end and then just go for it.
yeah, at some point, visualization can only get you so far. You just have to let, yourself do what you know that you're there to do. And you only can do what you can do anyway.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is just to try and have, you know, keep positive, even if it doesn't go perfectly, because you have to find a small win, no matter what you're doing.
Well, you found a lot of wins. You've had some big wins, for heaven's sakes. And even the small wins, though, that's how you got there.
Certainly, yeah. I had some local competitions and closer in the North Americans, on the North American Cup that those really got me started before I went off to Europe. And and even smaller than that would be, going off of my first jump and landing it, or sliding down a box and, not falling and maybe just sticking it.
Well, do you replay those in your mind, the victories that you've had?
I try not to dwindle on them or dwell on them too much because I like to be trained on the moment more often than not. Because the medals and everything, that's kind of just, the gravy on top of getting better every time, having a better run than the last time, making that 1% improvement as much as I can.
Do you ever think about, I want the gold, I want the World Cup? I mean, let's face it, you're standing up there and you know that this run could make you win the Gold Cup or come in second or third or fourth. You never know, right? I want to know what's going through your mind, knowing that with a great run, you're going to win.
Well, I try not to focus on it too much and just focus on my performance on the run, because I know that if I focus on myself, then I'll do the best that I can. Whereas if I'm comparing myself to others, I'm not necessarily focused on the, mechanical improvements I can make or the movements that I can make. And so I just, you try to stay trained on what actually will, help you have a really smooth, good run.
Well, and what you're doing is you're actually giving a lot of leadership lessons and a lot of business lessons right now as we're talking to each other. Well, Izzy, with all those leadership lessons, those are good ones. Now I'm going to skip a little bit. I'm sitting here with you and I know, I mean, you're related to me. For those of you who don't know, I'm very proud of you and proud to be related to you.
Oh, thank you.
And I knew that you were born without a hand. The people here, they can't see that. And if you're listening, you won't know other than I just told you. And so let's think about that. You were born without a hand. How did that impact you as you were growing up and starting this snowboarding?
It really at first defined and informed the narrative that I had kind of told myself about who I was and what kind of goals I should pursue. Even simple interactions in the grocery store where a parent will shh their child for asking a question and
Yep.
quickly shuffle away. They kind of tell a story that, wherever I am, maybe I shouldn't be there, maybe I was out of place. And that's been something that has been difficult to, challenge, but it's something that has really helped. I've found things that really help me overcome that, and especially snowboarding has helped in that respect.
So what are some things, because I think it's that people don't know how to act.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not about you, it's about them because they're uncomfortable.
Certainly. And I don't want anyone to feel bad about that because, sometimes there is no good reaction, but the best thing that you can do is just be open. And, if you have a question, it'd be okay to ask, but definitely, respect if a person doesn't want to answer it. So just because a child asks a question and you're embarrassed, like, oh no, don't ask that in front of them. That's so embarrassing. Maybe the better option is to just explain to them, oh, this person, has a physical difference. We're not sure why. We don't know them,
Yeah.
but they just live their life a different way.
Right.
And just answering it, openly in front of their child and, explaining that, it's very normal.
Well, and we take so much for granted. And just a minute, I'm going to be asking you for some piece of advice for some folks. Yet right now, I'm thinking about today. I had a Coke Zero. I picked up the can, I opened it, flipped it open, and no big deal. Yet that is a big deal to you.
You
You
know,
had to teach yourself.
yes, I definitely have had to adapt, the mechanical aspects of life in various ways. It took me a long time to learn to ride a bike till maybe I was 12 years old, and I didn't start doing my own hair until I was maybe 16, and I still can't braid yet.
Well, now I gotta tell you, blow drying my hair, I have to have one hand holding and rolling the brush and the other with the blow dryer. So how do you do that?
I actually use my affected limb quite a bit. So I use it to hold the blow dryer and then I'll kind of use my hand to brush.
Yeah.
Um,
So you've learned how to balance things,
exactly.
which helps you in snowboarding because you have to balance.
Yeah, certainly. There's lots of different things that I'm considering, just in mundane tasks, especially like tying my shoes. It's a little bit extra
Yeah.
effort. And so I just do rely on my, amputated, sorry. I just rely on my affected arm a lot more than I had ever expected because it's been super useful in engineering those mechanical differences for me.
You know, I love the energy that you have and that belief in yourself and the fact that you don't like making mistakes, yet they help you. So, what advice do you have for someone that's having a hard time right now that doesn't have any ailments, yet they are struggling to believe in themselves? Because we all go through that sometimes.
I would say that to keep showing up, no matter what it is that they're struggling with, just keep showing up. And the more you do that, the more you will prove to yourself that you are capable of doing things when you're uncomfortable, when you're in a bad spot. And then, that confidence that you build through that can be the thing to help you through a struggle.
Have you ever struggled enough that you cried?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
have too. I don't think anybody has a corner on that. Have you found anything that it was a little challenging or different being a girl without a hand versus maybe a guy?
Yeah, there's some things that are very different. A lot of times men have, an easier time asking other men for help or other people for help.
Yeah.
And, they can be a little bit more extroverted about it. Whereas I feel like a lot of disabled women have been taught to kind of close in a little bit, be a bit more timid.
Were you shy at any time in your life?
Yes. And I think maybe even now I'm still shy.
Well, I
So.
appreciate you doing this podcast with me because I know, and now I want you to speak to our group tomorrow, or not tomorrow, the next day.
And I'm so excited. I
I'm
can't wait.
excited. I mean, we've never had a World Cup person. And in fact, we're going to show them the trophy here in just a moment so they can see what that World Cup trophy looks like. I have one thing, though, down here. I wrote it down. I want to make certain I get that in here. What's next for you?
So I hope to seek out some, specialists and things to kind of help me hone in and dial in some performance aspects before the season gets started. I want to work with a sports psychologist to kind of try,
Yeah.
improve that routine in the gait and throughout the course so that I'm more aware and more calm and that I have more, more techniques to employ essentially.
Excellent.
And definitely, working on nutrition, getting as much food as I can, and gotta have a bulk. So,
Most of us are working to get rid of things. You're wanting to bulk up a little bit. And how do you choose a coach or a sports psychologist?
I like to go through referrals of my team. I am on the Team Utah snowboarding team, and I also work with the National Ability Center, and they have a lot of great contacts that have been in the sport for a long time. So I'm looking for experienced professionals who know what they're doing. And, I just have to be open-minded, give it a
Yeah.
shot. And if it doesn't work out, I'll have to find someone else.
Well, and you're going for the Paralympics, and of course, raising money is not fun. I know that. I've had to raise money before. I'm raising money all the time, it seems like. And you need some help. Yet, before we get onto that, let's look at that World Cup, because wait until you see this. This is amazing. I mean, look at that. That is so gorgeous. And right here, oh my word, it's all engraved. What did it feel like to hold that?
It was shocking. I had no idea really that it was coming. And I didn't think that I would hold one so soon in my career, really.
Let's hold it up again, because that is absolutely beautiful. And how many years before you got this?
I would say at least 5. I raced in the North American circuit since 2019, and then had um I had a slight break, through COVID because no
Yeah.
one was racing
Nobody.
and no one was traveling. And so then I had maybe, 2 more seasons on the snow before this last year. So yeah, about 5 years.
Well, I know that we've been big supporters, of course, being part of the family, and with even helping with snowboards, because you go through a lot of snowboards,
Yeah, certainly.
a lot of helmets.
Yes, more than snowboards even.
Actually, aren't you supposed to get a new helmet every time you fall or something?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I fell though.
Oh, well, that's good. That's
Well,
that's things on
I mean
helmets,
that in the
right?
concussion sense, not in the. I mean that I really
Well,
can't remember.
but you have fallen. So what's the most epic wipeout you've ever had?
I accidentally collided with another competitor in Finland. I had my back to her and I was on the very far edge of the course, so I had nowhere else to go. I hadn't seen the line that she was taking because, as I said, my back is to her.
Yeah.
And we collided midair on a hip jump, and
Ooh.
it was a little brutal, but
Oh,
we
I
both
bet.
seem to be doing fine.
Well, that had to be. Did they have it on film?
Yeah.
That
We
would be
do.
fabulous. And we're going to show some pictures of you on this podcast and that too. So, if your snowboard had a name, what would you name it?
I think I would name mine Blue right now because it's straight blue. It's kind of a chill, mellow. It
Yeah.
does what I need to, gets the job done. I haven't found a really great name for this one, but one of my favorite snowboards ever, I named Jinxie, and that was a student's
Jinxie.
board. Yeah.
Oh, my word.
Well, actually, my grandma named it, but I loved the name and I kept it. So it felt like, tricky, fun,
Yeah.
flexible.
Well, I got to tell you, all of us have some hype songs. I mean, like when I do a class, every time to come back from break, it's I'm on top of the world, right? I like that
Yeah.
song. What's your hype song?
Well, since coming back from Argentina in the last couple weeks, I listened to I'm the Man a lot.
Oh, yes. That's a great song.
So I think that's a really good one, a positive message that just kind of gives you a little bit of a boost that says, I can do it.
And that's what we're going for. I can do it. All right. So what's a question that you wish I would ask you that I haven't?
Well, I would love to talk about some of my favorite places that I've been, and
Let's
the
do that.
differences.
Tell us, because we've got snowboarders, I'm sure, listening to this. Where are some of your favorite places that you love to snowboard?
My all-time favorite place that I've been for a race is in Whitehorse, Canada. The community was so welcoming, and that makes just all the difference. They had people down at the bottom cheering for us with kettlebells, and they had a whole welcoming event and a medal ceremony. It was beautiful, and they had a wonderful course made for us. So community support makes a huge difference. And I think you can really feel that in Cortina too. they have a big, cheering atmosphere. Even for, me at the time, I was just racing in the Europa Cup against myself.
Yeah.
They were still cheering so loud for me, and
Oh,
that
wow.
that really kind of gave me the juice to keep going after I had injured myself.
Well, you have raised most of this money yourself.
Yeah.
You go to Weber State, you work a job, you have to practice your snowboard,
Mm-hmm.
you got to meet with coaches, you got to travel, like you just came back from Argentina,
Mm-hmm.
of spending a week there. What can we do to all the people that are listening to this? What could they do to help support you in this sport and representing the United States?
Well, I do have social media links available. So I've got an Instagram and a Facebook. I also have a bonfire where you can buy personalized merchandise that I designed.
What's your
And
favorite design that you've given?
I made one with a buffalo on it that just says Nubs. So I thought that my fellow amputees might enjoy that, or anyone who has, a family member who also is an amputee.
That's great. And of course, that's an insider type thing that
Yeah.
everybody would like, right? Well, I trust that as you've listened to this, that you've learned how to become more through a mindset that means don't ever stop, through the things that it doesn't matter what you're facing, that you have to have the courage to go forward, even if you break your ribs, if you fall and get a concussion, or if you have to buy new helmets and new snowboards. You just have to keep going. And I think if anybody didn't get that, they weren't listening. So what are the final words? Do you have any other things that you would just like to look at the listeners or the people that are watching this and say?
I love to recount Albert Einstein's quote, "In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity." Sometimes it's hard to gain perspective when you're feeling really ground down, but sometimes if you just take a deep breath and you keep going, you'll come out on the other side and realize that you set yourself on a path that you wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Well, you heard it here on Becoming More. So if you've enjoyed this, hit that subscription button down below and go to Facebook or to Instagram and help Izzy out. We're sending her off to represent the U.S. Thanks so much,
Thank
Izzy.
you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.